We know from a global religion perspective that Buddhism and Christianity look like radically different religions. They both fit under the umbrella of religion, but they do not function the same way. Buddhism, for example, has you turn inward to the self, to empty. There's a cryptic teaching in there that one must go through if they're looking for a pathway to enlightenment, inner pathway. There's a cryptic teaching to follow. It's complex and long. I'm not going to get into that here, but it has you turn inward, and that is a very different thing than Christianity that says instead of doing that you take the stuff that you have, the feelings and the hurt and the pain and all of that, and you relinquish that to a higher being that is out there beyond you. So in one case, you're looking at it and dealing with it. In the other case, you're turning it over to something that you're told is out there someplace. So you can see right there, as far as religions go, those two do not look the same. It's almost like saying a Ferrari and a semi-truck are both vehicles. They are, but they're radically different. They don't function the same way. They might still do the same thing. They get you from one place to another. Okay, that's not the greatest analogy. My name is Dan Paulson. What I want to do in this video is show how Buddhism and Christianity emerged from the teaching of two masters that were cryptic teachings, that if you looked at that core teaching before the religions, if we go upstream to the teachings of the Buddha and the teachings of Jesus prior to the development of the religion, that would mean the Dhammapada from the Buddha, or the Sermon on the Mount, or the Sermon on the Plain from Jesus, that core teaching right there. And if we interpreted that without their stories, we would find out that they're using the identical technique to take one lesson about inward healing. Both Buddha and Jesus are teaching that inward path. Except Buddha's is very intentionally cryptic in a way that you look inward, and Christianity is cryptic in a way that you think you look outward. You take that outward path and invert it, though, and turn it inward. And you know what? That's a term, that turning it inward. What I mean at that point is turning it to your memories. If you were to take a verse, if I were to make up a verse of my own saying, an anchored ship cannot sail, and we throw that in a body of work that we're putting together ourselves, and we know that that means something. But I'm the one that makes this up. I already know what that means right there. But somebody grabbing that verse and interpreting it has the responsibility of finding out what I put in there. There's one thing I mean in there. Somebody can interpret that, though, and say, well, it just means you anchor your ship. That's not interpreted. That's plain language. Someone could say it means I'm hanging on to something, and as long as I don't let go of this relationship, I'm not going to succeed. Things aren't going to move on. As long as I don't get rid of these habits, as long as I don't further my education, I'm not going to get to where I want to. And right there is a good interpretation. Somebody else might say, no, it means you're supposed to hang on to something so that you're not flying free. Well, that's a good interpretation too. So we get variation. We're at the wrong place. If you can interpret this in different ways and make them both sound good, that's not what I mean. We're in the wrong place if there's conflict. When we get to where the verse actually is supposed to be, the conflict will go away. The verse is about me. This is my guru. What I am hanging on to, what I am the ship, and what I am hanging on to is in my memories. It is in my past. It is in my life experience that becomes the seed of something that continues to cycle out throughout my life. So when it gets to that level, it's the same for everybody. What do you hold as secret in yourself that is hurtful, that continues to somehow control, dictate, guide portions of your life? That's what we're looking at right there. That's the interpretation level we get to where the conflict ceases. And that's where I'm going to go to with Jesus and with Buddha. They're going to be doing that same technique, using different ships and anchors, analogs. That's a complicated thing to begin with. So in this video, what I'm going to do is make some comparisons between some very special verses between Jesus and the Buddha that are pretty rare. Now, most people are familiar with what I'm going to be doing with Jesus ones. There's like the first handful of verses that are in the book of Luke in the Sermon on the Plain. They're dual verses there, but they're jumbled. So we have to unjumble those. Right here we've got dual verses, and I'll talk about these ones first to begin with. These are from the Dhammapada, from Buddha's pivotal work. This is his core teaching before it becomes Buddhism. This is not Buddhism itself. This is what, if he was sitting down teaching a sermon, like if you were to read the New Testament, that's Christianity. But what does Jesus teach when he sits down and teaches a sermon? That's what we have going on here. So there's something that I'm making a comparison between these two. This one starts right off with these dual or what's called twin verses, and I'll talk about those in just a second. And there are, 20, I think there was? Yeah, 20 of them total in Buddha's work. There's one of them, oddly enough, that doesn't look like it belongs there. It's strange. I don't have my finger on that one. It's a fun one. I don't have to talk about it, though. But these dual verses are right here in the beginning of this core teaching. And then if we went to the book of Luke and Jesus' work, we would see dual verses again right in the very beginning of the teaching. Not as many of them. And they jumbled them here. It looks to me, though, if we interpreted these and then interpreted those, let's see what we come up with. Let's go ahead and go through an interpretation process. Okay, I'll do that in this video. Now, for the dual verses we have for Buddha, I'm going to go to number 1 and number 2. I cover a lot. We'll do that in this video here, but just to get started, I'm going to do number 3 and 4 because they're so short. Here, I'm going to read these if you haven't read these before. Remembering now, this is the guru telling me, as I'm sitting and saying, Master, what is life about? Help me understand what I need to do. He's not going to tell me in plain language. He's going to tell me something weird and make me go figure it out. And as I'm doing that, I'm wiring my brain and figuring it out. Okay, so that's where these verses come to now that we're hearing them. He abused me. He beat me. He defeated me. He robbed me. And those who harbor such thoughts, hatred will never cease. 4. He abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me. And those who do not harbor such thoughts, hatred will cease. So it's kind of like, if you do it this way, this will happen. If you don't do it, it won't happen. If you do it this way, it will. If you don't, it won't. So that's where the dual verses or the dichotomy of the verses come in. So they have that kind of a little, you recognize them easily because they have that. They just have that dual sound to them. Okay, what I'm going to do is, if you go through here in Buddha's work, the first 20 are like that, except for 5 and 6 do not seem to be dual verses. The rest of them all are. We're going to interpret them in a minute. What I'm going to do is, next though, however, take a look at Jesus's work. I said jumbled. Actually, only one layer of jumbling. What they've done is they've taken the second half of each of these verses and simply separated them out and put them down below. So instead of it saying, do this or that, do this or that, do this or that, it says, do this, do this, do this, do this, or that, or that, or that, or that. We'll see when we go. Let's take a look at it. Here's what it looks like from the Bible itself when it starts. This is the beginning of the Sermon on the Plain. Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Let's take those 3 right there and just look at this. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Poor, rich. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. Up here, hungry, filled. Woe to you who are laughing now. So you can see what happened here. They're duality, but they've split them out. So what I did is I put them together into the duality. So I've restructured it to look like this. Blessed are you who are poor now, for yours is the kingdom of God. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. So I put it back in the twin verse format. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. Okay, so now we recognize that as dual verses. Both of them from Buddha and from Jesus are definitely putting dual verses in the style of the Dhammapada. That was not obscured, and for some reason in the style here, it does seem to be more obscured or a different style. Okay, let's go to the interpretation now, and I'm going to start with Buddha, the Dhammapada. Now, I have covered these extensively in the past, so I kind of want to just go through them here. I want to get to a comparison here. So if any parts you have more interest in, something I've covered too quickly, if you'd like more detail, please feel free to leave a question below. It's a quiet channel. I'll make a video if you got a question. I respond to people I should not even respond to sometimes. It's just too quiet sometimes. So, oh well. Okay, here we go. Buddha. Okay, verse number 1 reads, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. So right there, Buddha is telling us that we are memories. And their emotional state if it's there. We know that, right? If you have a memory that is benign, then it's a benign memory. If it is happy, when you remember it, it'll make you feel happy. If it's shameful or hurtful, what happens when you remember it? It'll make you feel that way. So all that we are is a result of what we have thought. We are living through the bundle of our life experiences. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, pain follows him as the wheel follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. Patriarchal material, if a man means any human being. It should say a guru, a sage. If a person speaks or acts with an evil thought, this does not mean at the moment, at the time. This means we have stored it and accumulated something that is now evil to us. It may not be that we were evil. We may have been victims, but you go on with something hurtful in life. What is that? We're dragging something evil with us. We don't call it that. That's an analog, but it is evil to our life experience. Pain follows us when we do that. When we have had something bad happen, left in place, pain follows us like a wheel. That goes around and around, doesn't it? That's a cycle. As the pain cycles, and in a verse like this, I become the component part of it. Like the ship and the anchor, here's the ox and the carriage and the foot. Wheel follows. There I am right there. I am the ox that draws the carriage through life instead of the ship, and pain follows me because of the evil. There we go. That's like me saying, if I'm anchored, I cannot sail. I'm hung on to something. Okay, so what do we have here? We are products of our memories and our emotional state. What we harbor repeats. Oops. Phew. Got too many things in the way here. Make a little space. We are products of our memories and their emotional state. What we harbor with hurt. I'll just say that. Anything that's negative, derogatory, repeats cyclically. All right, that's what he's saying right there. See what I'm going to be doing? All that we are is a result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, pain follows him, as the wheel follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. This is something that Master Buddha told us 2,500 years ago when we went up to the mountaintop and asked him, how come it's so messed up? What's going on? And he lets us know this. And we leave and we finally figure out that we are products of our memories and their emotional state. And what we harbor with hurt repeats cyclically. Okay, got it. We move on. All that we are is a result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It's made up of our thoughts. Okay, we're going to hook these two verses together now. They belong together. If a man speaks or acts with a pure thought, we've just went opposite there. Happiness follows him like a shadow that never leaves him. Okay, so here we have we are products of our memories and their emotional state when we are free of hurt memories. I'll just say that for now. Anything negative, derogatory, all that stuff. Then we are happy. Yeah. All right, there we have it. So let's read it. We are products of our memories and their emotional state. What we harbor with hurt repeats cyclically. We are products of our memories and their emotional state. When we are free of our hurt, we are happy. You see what we did there? He abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me, and those who harbor such thoughts, hatred will never cease. He abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me, and those who do not harbor such thoughts, hatred will cease. What have we got here? This is telling us what those memories are now. What are your evil thoughts? Well, let's see. He abused me, he beat me, I'm a victim. Oh, woe is me. Okay, I jumped ahead. I realized the video is going to take a while, so I just jumped ahead in the interpretation. So we've got, what did we have there? Yeah, the first one starts out second like that. Now, the next pair, the 5 and 6, that's the one that I wanted to say that doesn't look like a dichotomy to me. And it's an interesting one. Let me get this highlight off of there. For hatred does not cease by hatred at any time. Hatred ceases by love. This is an old rule. The world does not know that we must all come to an end here, but those who know it, their quarrels cease at once. So this one does not fit the criteria in this clump of 20 verses of the duality, the dual verses. But we'll go ahead and interpret them. For hatred does not cease. We must shift the emotional state of the memory from hate to love. So it's going to continue sequencing on, telling us what we have to do, that we're holding on to things, that they continue to cycle, that in order to heal them, we must take the hate and shift it to love. And then this one is bizarre. Those who understand this life is all you get will live in peace and love. That's how I interpret it, because I don't know how else to do it. The world does not know that we must all come to an end here, but those who know it, their quarrels cease at once. That kind of flies in the face of what we know of Buddhism, doesn't it? But here's Buddha telling us, reincarnation is something a little bit different, but that's not this video. Okay, he who lives looking for pleasures only, his senses uncontrolled, immoderate food, idle, weak, Mara the tempter will certainly overthrow him as the wind throws down a weak tree. Those who live seeking physical pleasures, giving in to all, not maintaining control of consumption, failure comes easily. He who lives without looking for pleasures, his senses well controlled, moderate in his food, faithful and strong, him Mara will certainly not overthrow any more than the wind throws down a rocky mountain. Remember, Mara represents temptation. Those who live with control and moderation of life's experiences will have strength to face life successfully. You don't give in. 9. He who wishes to put on the yellow dress without having cleansed himself from sin, who disregards temperance and truth, is unworthy of the yellow dress. Okay, remember, this is for them. So the yellow dress represents in a global scale an enlightened being. It doesn't have to be yellow dress. Well, let's make it bigger. We're not going to put on a yellow dress, but we can still become enlightened beings. So I've changed that and updated it to say those who wish to associate with the enlightened, who have first not become enlightened, who are quick to anger and do not know truth, are not enlightened. But the one who has cleansed himself from sin is well grounded in all virtues and also regards temperance and truth. He is indeed worthy of the yellow dress. Those who have forgiven all their inner hurt, is a good person, is calm and seeks only the truth, is worthy of being enlightened. That's what it takes to be enlightened, actually. They who imagine truth and untruth and see untruth and truth never arrive at truth, but follow vain desires. Well, I saw that in politics, which is really coming up lately. Every time somebody doesn't like something, lie, fake, lie, fake. And it's just like you just say whatever you want to. It's like a Pee Wee Herman show. This is it right here. Those who imagine truth and untruth and see untruth and truth never arrive at truth, but follow vain desires. Yeah, selfishness pulled completely. People who do not mentally discriminate all the time are easily led astray and follow wishes over answers. They who know truth in truth and untruth in untruth arrive at truth and follow true desires. People who do mentally discriminate all the time know what is true and follow true answers found on the path, not supernatural wishes that one started with. Okay, people that are looking for the truth. This Buddha saying, if you come up and say there is God, now we're going to go searching and we're going to search for all the things that prove God. He's telling you right there, what are you doing? You're following vain desires up here. True desires, you've got to have an open mind. As rain breaks through an ill-thatched house, passion will break through an unreflecting mind. Not being self-aware, we're subject to temptation. As rain does not break through a well-thatched house, passion will not break through a well-reflecting mind. Self-observing, we easily stay away from temptations. Watch yourself, self-observe. The evildoer mourns in this world and he mourns in the next. He mourns in both. He mourns and suffers when he sees the evil of his work. We have to know that we are every one of these. We can't pick and choose and say, well, I'm not the evildoer, I'm the virtuous one. We are parts of them. We're going from one to the other. The evildoer is not somebody who is like an evil person, goes to jail, steals, robs, all that kind of stuff. An evildoer is somebody that is just feeling something in life that is not okay. You might be on top of the world, just fine, have a good job and everything, and just feel bad about something that is unresolved. We're mourning this world, mourning the next. This world is our life now. The next world is not our next iteration of life when we come back. It is not that. The next world is our next cycle of life in this world, tomorrow. The person who harbors hurt will suffer now and in the future for it. It will be observable as a seed from our own garden or cause and effect. Verse 1, comparison. Remember, an evildoer mourns in this world and mourns in the next. He mourns in both. That's a cycle. He mourns and suffers when he sees the evil of his own work. He's mourning and suffering because of something he's hanging on to. The virtuous man delights in this world. Virtuous is like in righteousness in Jewish work. Virtuous. The virtuous man delights in this world and he delights in the next. He delights in both. He delights and rejoices when he sees the purity of his own work. So the person who relinquishes hurt will live delighted now and tomorrow. The cycles cease. The feelings will be good as we heal. It's like verse 2. The pain ceases like a shadow that never leaves. The evildoer suffers in this world and he suffers in the next. He suffers in both. He suffers when he thinks of the evil he has done. He suffers more when going on the evil path. Hurt left in place will cycle. It will hurt in our thought and it will hurt in our manifested behavior when triggered. We will suffer for that. The virtuous man is happy in this world and he is happy in the next. He is happy in both. He is happy when he thinks of the good he has done and still happier when going on the good path. One who has resolved all inner judgments is happy now and tomorrow. He is happy in thinking and happy in life's experience. The thoughtless man, even if he can recite a large portion of the law but is not a doer of it, has no share in the priesthood, but is like a cowherd counting the cows of others. One who knows the material well but does not live it does not truly feel free. They are followers of the teachings of other men. Yeah. When you're walking with the Bible and preaching that, you're following the teachings of other men. The follower of the law, even if he can recite only a small portion of the law, but having forsaken passion and hatred and foolishness, possesses true knowledge and serenity of mind. He, caring for nothing in this world or that to come, has indeed a share in the priesthood. One who doesn't know the material but naturally lives it, lives a clean and virtuous life, loves others and remains wise, are naturally enlightened. Yeah, not everybody has to go through a process. Some people are just, I think, by default. You know what? So the material teaches us in other places that we're born with certain qualities, but then we become products of our experiences. Now, some people come from very hurt experiences and need to go on a healing path. Other people go through life experiences that are very loving, caring, kind, teaching, nurturing, compassionate. That's what we're seeking to become like. And some people are just like, they didn't get beat up like us. So we're trying to get to where they are. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on now. What I want to do is, you see what I'm doing, but because of the nature of the video and the length of it, I have to just move on. So let's go ahead. Jesus' work is a smaller section. I'm going to go to where I've put the verses together, just go through the interpretation process, same way. And then we're going to make comparisons between what Jesus interprets as and what Buddha interprets as and see what we've got going on. All right, let's get into it. All right, this is Jesus' example of the dual verses, appears only in the Gospel of Luke and comprises the first 8 verses of the Sermon on the Plain. Then he looked up at his disciples and said, "Now I've restructured them here. I've numbered them, but I've also color-coded them, the blue and then black and then blue and black. That's just to differentiate the pairs. And then the red is all of my interpretation. And I'm just going to breeze through these. I've got recent material up on this if you want to look at more detail. Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God." Okay, poor, this is mental. All of this is going to be a mental process. We're going to treat it the same way. Happy are you who are empty of life judgments. You will live enlightened. That's the kingdom of God. There living enlightenment. Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. To Buddha would sound something like, blessed are you when you find emptiness, for you will have nirvana. Okay, same teaching. These are analogous verbiage. Kingdom of God and nirvana both mean peace in your heart and mind. Poor, empty, these are mental experiences, okay? Let's get on board with that and just run through it. All right, and what did we just get out of Buddha's second verse in the dual verses as far as all we are is the result of what we have thought? We treated this mentally, and that if you have a pure thought, then happiness is like a shadow that never leaves. Happiness comes over us. Here we have poor in spirit, kingdom of God. They're actually the same thing as much as they sound different. You have to translate them into the psyche and not treat them as physical verses. All of them have to be translated. So, the kingdom of God and a shadow that never leaves, happiness like a shadow that never leaves, are the same thing. And a pure thought or poor, blessed are those who are poor, pure thought are going to be the same thing. If you can get there, you can read these. But in translation, understand that all of them are mental concepts. That's where they go. If you're looking to interpret them, they should be mental and they should be self-healing. Then you're getting there. If they're outward looking and you're following somebody and worshiping with them, you're looking outward. You're not finding the core material. You're living on the carrying case. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. But turmoil to you who maintain judgments or memories with derogatory emotions. You will continue to live based in those. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Spiritual hunger. Mental. I want to know. I gotta have answers. Good to you who seek righteous or virtuous or mentally interactive truth. You will find it. It works that way. You'll pull it to you if you're serious. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. Those who already know the answer before seeking will never find the answer. Oops, I didn't color code that one. Okay, blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. We're weeping about our issues, about what we have that is hurting us. Good for you who face and heal your hurt now. You will feel free of it. It's going to hurt to face that stuff. You're going to have to weep now. If you don't weep over and get over it, you're not going to laugh. It's not going to be okay. We leave and put away. So blessed are you who weep now. That means you turn and face it, for you will laugh. Good for you who face and heal your hurt now. You will be free of it. Woe to you who are laughing now, for you will mourn and weep. Woe to you who pretend nothing is wrong. It will continue to hurt you anyway. And then finally, blessed are you when people hate you and when they exclude you, revile you and defame you on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice on that day and leap for joy, for surely your reward is great in heaven, for that is how their ancestors treated the prophets. Okay, Son of Man is another analog for an enlightened one on the template. Or if you're, it's a small template. It is a small template. Look at how big the Bible and all these things are. There are many, many analogs sharing roles. But you learn to read the analogs. It pops open. Prophet represents a called person, or in some cases like this, a guru or a sage figure. Okay, that's what the prophets are. When you get to the template, these are people that have come along before and said, hey, here's the material, here's the stuff. I'm creating a story and nesting this in there for you. New stories. Okay? So let's read it again. Blessed are you when people hate you and when they exclude you, revile you, and defame you on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice on that day and leap for joy, for surely your reward is great in heaven, for that is how their ancestors treated the prophets. Blessed are you when you become somewhat isolated due to your understanding and path through the material that many hold but very few use. Take heart in the solitude of the path. You are on the right path. This is what our gurus have taught us they experienced. Woe to you when all speak well of you, for that is how their ancestors treated the false prophets. We're looking at the material here. He's teaching us to turn inward with it. It's not good when you're a popular religious figure leading the masses. You are false prophets. We would see this show up in other examples of material where Pharisees or many called, few chosen, things like that. So, okay, let's take a look at, did you see what's happened? Let's just go look at the answers real quick and just make some quick comparisons, and I'll try to wrap up this video. Okay, what I've done right here is I've isolated Buddha and Jesus's works. What I've done is I've just taken the Jesus works because there were fewer of them and there were more Buddha ones. I took all the Jesus ones, I put them in red right here. And these are my translations of all of them. They're not the original verse. These are the translations. So Jesus said, "Happy are you who are empty of life judgments. You will live enlightened." Buddha said, "When we are free of hurt memories, we are happy." Hurt memories, life judgments, enlightened, happy. Turmoil to you who maintain judgments or memories with derogatory emotions. You will continue to live based in those cycles. What we harbor with hurt repeats cyclically. Remember the wheel following the ox? Good to you who seek righteous or virtuous or mentally interactive truth. You will find it. Buddha, people who do mentally discriminate all the time know what is true and follow true answers found on the path, not supernatural wishes that one started with. Those who already know the answer before seeking will never find the answer. That's Jesus. Buddha, people who do not mentally discriminate all the time are easily led astray and follow wishes over answers. Jesus, good for you who face and heal your hurt now. You will be free of it. Buddha, freeing ourselves from negative memories causes our feelings to be free. Jesus, woe to those who pretend nothing is wrong. It will continue to hurt you. Buddha, maintaining memories and their negative emotions means we will always feel bad about them. I could reinterpret these to be the exact same thing, huh? Yeah, anything that's held in there continues to cycle out. This last one comes off a little bit, so I'm not quite sure, but I'll just put what I have here and I'll wrap this up. Blessed are you when you become somewhat isolated due to your understanding and path through the material that many hold but very few use. Take heart in the solitude of the path. You are on the right path. This is what our gurus have taught us that they experienced. Now that's from Jesus. That's interpreting Jesus. He's telling you, yeah, turn inward with this stuff. Buddha, one who doesn't know the material but naturally lives it, lives a clean and virtuous life, loves others and remains wise and are naturally enlightened. See, it doesn't quite line up. It's close, but it isn't quite there. You become somewhat isolated. Yeah, they're not exactly the same. This one's kind of telling you you're going to become isolated. This one's telling you that there are people that just live it naturally. Not good when you're a popular religious figure leading the masses. You are false prophets, is what Jesus said. And then Buddha said, one who knows the material well but does not live it does not truly feel free. They are followers of the teachings of other men. So those last two are not exactly right on, but they're kind of close. And you'll find it elsewhere in Jesus' material. But in that block right there of the dual verses, there's almost a direct alignment in some cases. They've taken the Jesus ones and kind of mixed them up. Then you get over to where the where the Sermon on the Mount is. And the duality isn't there in those verses. You don't need to. You can just say one side. You don't have to say both sides. You can add more to it. Anyway, but that technique was visible there because you can see that duality. You have to know enough of them to realize that's what they've got going on. But I wanted to point that out to once again demonstrate Jesus is teaching the same thing that Buddha taught at the core. The carrier shell, the people worshiping and waiting on him to come back, he's teaching something you're not seeing. All right, hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. Take care.